Hey guys, and welcome back to Regretsit, Brexit Britain, a country whose Prime Minister doesn't know whether he's been there, he's done that, he's going, he hasn't gone, he's been there before, maybe he hasn't. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me, and a special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all the messages, I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. Now, last night's, we're starting with some sports, right? Football. Last night's, Leicester v Tottenham, right? 95 minutes on the clock, right? And the game was won. It was won by Leicester, right? They was winning 2-1, right? Only for Tottenham to introduce like a super sub, right? And for him to come on and score two goals in eight, basically come to score two goals in 80 seconds, right? Which is just it was a great game of football anyway in the first place, but the end of the game was just absolutely incredible. I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen someone that late in a game to come on and score two goals is just like absolutely incredible. Do you know what I mean? So it was a really, really, really fantastic game. Really, really good game. Fantastic game, in fact. So, we're going to start with this Beth Rigby, right? Bethany Rigby interview. I think it was on. I'm not sure whether it was on ITV or Sky. But Boris Johnson, obviously, that was his first interview after his grilling in last week in Prime Minister's Questions. So I sometimes just wonder who the hell, right, is giving Boris Johnson advice, because whoever's giving him advice, right, is really giving some bad advice, right? Because Boris Johnson should be sacked immediately. Right, because they're not doing him any favours. Do you know what I mean? They just seem to be stabbing him in the back. Do you know what I mean? Because the thing with Boris, Boris is not really, he's not good in interviews where he's under pressure. Right, he's never ever good there. Right, he's good with interviewers, who are friendly to him, and he can have a good old laugh and a good old laugh and all them things. They'll say, yeah, oh yeah, that's it, that's Boris. They ask him one or two difficult questions, like Nick Ferrari, right? He's the racist motherfucker who does the LBC breakfast show, right? Anytime Boris is interviewed by him, right, he just gives him a nice easy time, and he's supposed to be some type of hard hitting interviewer, but he's not really. Do you know what I mean? It's just like he's just a big mouth, right? Who's managed to get himself, who's managed to end up quite lucky in life. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't understand how LBC have got so many idiot, racist, right, presenters, right? Even down to that James O'Brien, right? People don't understand. See him, He is he's one of them people, He's the reason why people are so upset with this woke culture. Do you know what I mean? It's because of people like him, right? And he plays that card. He plays that card. Do you know what I mean? Because he, right, is. He's one of them people who would claim to be a centrist, right? But all of those people who are centrists, right, and are in the late that claim that they're like Labour voters or what, right? All of them, right, are sort of like your red Tories. All of them, right? All of them. But they've stolen our party away from us. They've stolen the Labour Party away from us, and But these guys worked that plan out. Probably it was probably a few hundred years ago that those plans was worked out. That they worked out that the working classes, right, have always, right, got to be ruled by the upper classes, right? So obviously you've got your highest level, who would be the royals, right? But then under there, right, you've got all your people who are all of them, the majority of them are full out supporters of the royals, So they're full out supporters of them, right? And because I'm talking about the people who will be invited to your royal wedding. So I'm talking about your really high society. I'm talking about the people who are above the politicians, right? So all of those people, right? They'll all be, you know, because a lot of them will be like, and you know, so I'm talking about people who are like lords and people like that, and their families, right? Because they most of, you know, if you're a lord, you're obviously you're going to be a staunch royalist, right? Because you know you've been knighted. So it's not as if to say, you know, and plus, right, you know, when you get knighted, you get a purse, right? You know, and you know it's not, and it won't be made by Gucci, right? It'll be made by the Bank of England, right? That's where your purse will be, right? So we've got that, we've got all that level. Do you know what I mean? Right. But anyway, let's get back to this. Interview with Bethany Rigby, right? Because Boris Johnson was like, well, I didn't know, you know, I just went out, he was speaking about, obviously he was speaking about the parties, right? So he said, well, I went out into the garden, I didn't know it was a party, and furthermore, nobody told me it was a party. Now, you know something, yeah, because of the way how this country is set up, I think to myself, well, this could be perfectly reasonable that Boris Johnson, you know, wasn't told, because look, if you go into a building, right, and you know there's normally a sign to say lift this way, right? So you're being told, not by a person, but you know a person has put that sign up to say, well, the lift is this way, the stairs is that way, right? You know, and then you know the first floor, the second floor, right? You're told, you know, you get into the lift will tell you first floor, second floor, the lift will tell you. Right, you know, you're driving down the road, right, and you know there's road signs everywhere. I mean, you know, you can't drive down a one-way road from the wrong end, right, without seeing the signs. The sign says to you, don't drive, don't do that. The sign's telling you don't do that, right? So it's perfectly understandable why Boris Johnson could be like, well, I didn't know it was an illegal party. How would I know it was an illegal party? You know, I think that you know when people put on like illegal raves, they should just go like, oh, I didn't realise, officer. So can we just pack up our equipment and leave? Do you think we'll do that now if you want? No, the police will just take your motherfucking equipment and give you a massive fine, and that's out of COVID. Right, you go and set up right a squat party or something like that, and see what happens to your equipment. Right, they take that away. Right, because it's illegal. But you could say to the police officer, well, sorry, I haven't been told that this was illegal. I did not know. Nobody told me. So, you know, this is what this is what Boris Johnson's saying. He did not know that it was illegal for him to be having a party. Right? Nobody told him it was a party. Right? You know, I know people thinking, yeah, what about the trestle tables and, you know, maybe the invitation that was sent out to over 100 people? But this man still needs to be told. Right? Look. Now, if you see your 5-year-old, right, pushing a pencil right into the electric socket, what are you going to do? You're going to tell the child, listen, no, that is not on. Don't do that. It's dangerous. So now you've told the child. So now the child's not going to do it again. So somebody should have said to Boris Johnson when he was walking through the Downing Street complex, as I've heard it called, right? Because now this is the first time when I've heard them say to you, oh well, you know, in the first time in history where they're saying to people, oh well, you know, the Downing Street complex, you know, it's got, you know, it's number 8, number 6, number 8, number 6, number 8. How much houses on Downing Street? Because there's no houses on the other side of the road, right? I don't think, right? But there's the way how these people explained it, right? I was listening to things to myself, actually, I understand that now. How Boris Johnson can be walking around, right, in such a massive complex, right, and not realise, you know, and just basically fall over a party and not realise it's a party, even though there's people out there, right, with party hats. There's music going on. There's food on the table, right? But he did not realise, even though he stayed there for around 25 minutes. So he said. So, because that's what's one of the things what you're doing is because you know when a person says, okay, look, I can come here, but I'm just going to show my face. I'm off. that's what Boris Johnson was on, right? But as he said, right, he did not know, right, that it was a party, right? And furthermore, you've got to remember, right, that it was probably 15 minutes before this party started, right? There would have been a press briefing, right, to tell people the rules of what was going on that day. Right? So these guys, right, this is what they're doing, right? They're telling us what the rules are, right? But they're planning a party themselves in Downing Street. They're on telly. I can't remember which fool they had doing the announcement on that date, but there was one of them. Right, it could have been big forehead Matt Hancock. Not sure. Could have been. Right, but certainly was one of them. Right, doing the announcement to tell us about the rules. Right, and the rules certainly determined. Yeah, you couldn't be having a party with 100 people. Oh, and those rules was written by Boris Johnson. Well, they wasn't written by Boris Johnson. They was written by the other woman. I think Kate Josephs, right? She's another party animal who's been keeping parties after she wrote all of the COVID, basically the COVID laws. She wrote them all, and she's been caught at having parties too. But Boris Johnson is the man who commissioned her to write those rules, right? And you think, and you know. This is what I would have said to Boris Johnson. If I was his advisor, I would never let him do that interview. But you see, if it was me, if I was his advisor, he wouldn't have went to the House of Parliament last week. Right. So by now, we'd have been saying, listen, all of that, yeah, it's all old news, right? We need to get on with running the country. Right? People are not. This is what I would, because this is how the Tories do it anyway. People are not interested in parties, right? People are interested in inflation, the highest in 30 years. That's what people are interested in. Oh no, Boris would be like, actually no. I was at a party, and I had drinks and I did bring a bottle. So you start talking about the real issues that's going on in this country, right? Because we can't talk about the real issues. Right, because talk about the real issues, right? He's going to be telling us about parties, right? That we don't even know about yet. He'll be like, if you think Wine Time Friday was anything, right? You should try Thunderbird Thursday. Right? That's where Boris Johnson will go. If you start talking about the actual state of the country itself, right? And then they've gone and relaxed it because they've relaxed all the COVID, everything COVID now, right? Work from home. No, you don't work from home. You go get your ass back into the office now. Make people cough up in your face. And they're saying, like, even if you have COVID, you don't need to isolate. What? Yeah, don't need to isolate. No more face masks in school. I'm just wondering, yeah, if this is like more Operation Red Meat. Right, because I know that in America, right, they've got some serious issues over COVID right now. I mean, when I say serious issues, they've got really serious issues. Do you know what I mean? And, most people, I don't know, but most people seem to, they seem to be getting worse with this COVID. But we seem to, I don't know, we seem to be, somehow we seem to have come out of it. So, I really hope we have. Because obviously that would be fantastic to get the country back. But so I really hope we have. Right, they're saying Boris Johnson, right, should not be giving interviews, right? Because it was basically 18 minutes of hell for the man, right, or 14 minutes, whichever one it was hell, right? And and Beth Rigby, right, a woman who's obviously been caught up in her own controversy because I think she was suspended for 3 or 6 months from Sky because her and the other presenters decided they was going to go on party. Right, in the height of COVID, so they never got fired. But in saying that, right, she's like, she's a reporter or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And she's not in government. She's not setting the rules, right? So the person who makes the rules, right, should understand the rules, right? But Boris Johnson, right, must be the only prime minister, right, that can just come out and say, well, I never understood the rules. And people are like, oh, leave him alone. he's doing his best. Just leave him. Let him get on with it. He's doing his best. I mean, yeah, like he's an 8-year-old who's been sent to tidy his room up, right? And he's just pushed all the stuff under the bed, right? And the mum and the auntie just comes up and goes down and says, "Oh yeah, he pushed it all underneath the bed, but he's done his best." And Dad's like, "Get upstairs, leave him alone. He's done his best." That's how That's how they treat Boris Johnson, right? And then obviously we had Prime Minister's questions yesterday, right? But before Prime Minister's questions, we had Christian Wakeford, right, cross the floor, right, and cross the floor from Tories, right, over to the Labour Party. Right now, obviously Christian Wakeford, his voting record is not very good, right? But he gave a social justice warrior, right, speech to say why obviously that he felt that he needed to do that, and he mentioned things like the cost of living, free school meals for kids, Owen Paterson, and obviously the latest ones, the parties, was just too much for him, right? But you see, when you look at MPs like him, yeah, he's virtually exactly what we don't need in politics. Listen, I'm pleased for him to go over to Labour, But look, you got to understand, right, about Labour. Why I'm not excited about a Keir Starmer Labour Party, yeah, because that's not a Labour Party. Even though for it'll be slightly better. Do you know what I mean? Because you'll have slightly less racism around, right? Once if someone like Keir Starmer's in power, but economically things won't change for none of us. Things are not going to change for none of us economically. Do you know what I mean? And because he's like your Tony Blair type Labour politician, right? And I've always maintained that those people, right, have come and stolen the Labour Party away from the true Labour, right? If you look at Michael Foot, you look at Jeremy Corbyn, they're true Labour, right? And there's no getting away from that, right? All of this, this centre, or when they say, oh well, we're left of centre, they're not left of centre, right? What they are is they are blue, red. Right, because they're Tory light, yeah, and that's where they are, and that's why someone like James O'Brien has got so much in common with them. Do you know what I mean? Because he again is Tory light. Do you know what I mean? But they like to these guys, they like to pretend like they're Labour, because for them, for a lot of the upper classes, yeah, it's more of a thing where being Labour is cool, right? Because they know that the true reputation, right, of the Tories, right, are the owners of the workhouses. That's the true reputation of the Tories. It's just they just do it now in a modern way. But that's the true reputation. So the reason why I'm not excited about a Labour Party with Keir Starmer is because nothing's going to change for us. Because those guys, I'm not sure how Starmer gets on with Murdoch, because you know what, nowadays I'm past caring, because I personally think that this country deserves Boris Johnson, and what Boris Johnson's done to this country, I think the people of this country deserve it. Right, even though they probably, even though the majority of them are too stupid to realise, right, how much damage that Boris Johnson has done. These guys, when I say they're too thick, they are far too thick to realise, right, how much damage Boris Johnson has done, especially to businesses in this country, and to things like the institution of the NHS, because they've got what, nearly 6 million people on the waiting list. Do you know what I mean? That we've never ever had figures anywhere near that before. Nowhere near that, right? But so that's what I'm saying. These people, they're too thick, they're too stupid to realise, right, that what's happening to this country, right? The destruction that Boris Johnson has caused. It's like colonial payback. That's how I'm looking at it. and that's why I'm just laughing at these people, because you know what I'd say. You know what? You carry on voting for the posh boys and that. Carry on voting. Carry on voting to be ruled, because that is what you've been set up to do. You've been set up to do that. So you know what? You might as well do it, right? Because you've been set up to do it. You know. So Christian Wakefield, right, crossing the floor, right. As I said, you know, he's not. You know, I don't know, you know, because coming from, you know, I think he's Bury South or Bury North or wherever it is, right? So coming from, you know, these are quite deprived areas as well, right? And you see, it's you know, because Boris Johnson has made a lot of promises to the people up north, right, to get their votes, right? You know, and there's still, I mean, these people, right, you know, they will never admit, right, that, you know what, it's because we're a bunch of fucking racists why we decided we're going to vote for Boris Johnson, right? Because if they had any, I mean, you put Corbyn up against Johnson. Corbyn's there for the working classes. Johnson's not there for the working classes. He don't give a fuck about them. What do you give a fuck about them for? Right? But Corbyn was genuinely there for the working classes, and that's the reason why they went all out to stop him. They went all out to stop him, right? And I could tell you, you see, their strategy was, you know, and this, right, is and all of them, right, went on this, right, and all the media, all the stations, whether it was your BBC or your LBC, right, you know, whether it's ITV, all of them went on this, right? You see, after Corbyn done so well in 2017, he done very, very well in 2017. They knew, right, that, you know what, if we allow, right, the Labour MPs, because remember the Labour MPs, they never ever got behind him. Right? They never ever got behind him. You had people like Blair and Mandelson, right, making sure, right, that he could never, right? And remember, you had people like Choco Muna walk away, right, right, and go and move over to the Liberal Democrats and all these type of things, right, right. So they made sure, right, the media, right, made sure that, you know what, we're gonna, you know, we need to crush this man. We need to crush him, right? And then I think it was probably like the beginning of 2018, right? That's when they come up with that. That's when they started coming up with the anti-Semitism, right? And that one, once they come up with that one stuck. That one really started to put the real pressure on, right? And really started to hurt, right? And then you had like LBC, BBC, right? Every single day, right, presenters was doing shows on Jeremy Corbyn and anti-Semitism every day, right? So that was from, right, the beginning of 2018, right through, right, to the election, right, of 2019. So 2 summers, right, 2 full summers, every day, right, these guys was doing shows on anti-Semitism every day. And they were shoving it down people's neck, shoving it every day, and when I say, yeah, the presenters was doing 2-3 hours, right? You know, James O'Brien, Sheila Folk, right? These are supposed to be the liberals, supposed to be the liberals lefties, right? James O'Brien, Sheila Fogarty, right? All of them, yeah. It's obviously standard procedure for Nick Ferrari, right? And your Andrew Day and Ian Dale and people like that, and your Tom Sawbrick. It's standard procedure for all those people to get in on this. But when I tell you, every single day they was doing show after show after show on anti-Semitism, right? And you see, when Wakefield, right, when Wakeford crossed the floor yesterday, right, one of the first things I heard started coming in the media, oh, well, you know, he's going over to like an anti-Semitic party. That's the first thing they started with straight away, right? But as I said, yeah, with Keir Starmer, right, I think that Murdoch will allow Keir Starmer to be the Prime Minister. Right, so it will be, you know, because depending on who, you know, if they get rid of Boris Johnson, depending on who who they bring in. But I think that if they bring in Rishi Sunak, then it's basically going to be a walk in the park for Keir Starmer. Because let me tell you, right, there are a lot of Tories in here that are not going to vote for an Asian. Right? Trust me on this. There's a lot that's not going to do it. Right? As staunch as they are, they're not going to do it. Right? Because because that level of racism will kick in. Right, it will kick in. You know, the man's wearing £850 jackets. Right, so I'm not sure. We're not sure what's going to happen there. Right, but yeah, so you know, as I said, I'm pleased that someone obviously crossed the floor. But you know, as I said, this, you know, looking at his voting records, do you know what I mean? He's no social justice warrior. Do you know what I mean? Right, and then we've got David Davis, right, a man whose head is square as Andrew Bridgens. Right, or Emily Thornberry. Imagine them in three. Oh, that's disgusting. That's a disgusting thought, and you shouldn't think about it like that. Right. So David Davis, you know, he pulled out of the bag. Yeah, now I'm sure it was Cromwell Chamberlain. I'm sure that Cromwell said it to Chamberlain. For God's sake, man, go. Right. And David Davis, yeah, he's one of them crazy Brexiters as well. Right? When I tell you crazy, he's a crazy Brexiter because a lot of remember, right? He's the one who turned up to Europe and had no paperwork, right? And then said and one time he was in I think it might have been on the LBC, and he said, "You don't have to be smart to do my job." Right? But I think he was at that time he was the Brexit secretary. Do you know what I mean? So David. How has and people still vote for this fool as well, right? After you could say these kind of rubbish, but then again, you know, when you've got people like Liz Truss lining up to be like the Prime Minister, right? And she can say stuff, she can say some really stupid stuff. You know, I want British apples to be back at the top of the tree. Anyway. This is the stupidity, this level of stupidity that we are in this country. Right? So yeah, so David Davis, he just sort of hit the killer blow for Boris Johnson, right? To say, you know, look, man, you need to get the fuck out of there because you know we're all sick and tired of your lies now. Right? The newspapers have got you on Pinocchio, right? And I've never seen a Pinocchio's nose that big, right? That was on one of the front of the pages. Right? I've never seen it that big, right? Now, you know, about Boris Johnson, in Prime Minister's questions to Keir Starmer, and these guys are saying, and these guys are going like, yeah, oh, he's done so well. Right, because you know why? Because we're manipulated heavily in this country. The manipulation from the media, that's where it comes from. The manipulation, that's all they do. Every day they're manipulating us. Every day on a daily basis. The front of the Sun now, the Mail today, right? They look like they're social justice warriors. What they're saying, but basically what they're saying is, you know what, right? Stop talking about the parties. Right? Stop talking about how crap this Prime Minister is. And look at all these things. Right? We need all these things going on. Inflation. Well, who knew that having Boris Johnson in power, right, you'd have the highest inflation for 30 years? I did. I knew it. I didn't think he would get here this quick. I didn't think he'd get here this quickly within the space of 2 years. Right? I didn't think he'd get this quickly. But that's where I knew this country was going. I knew this country was heading for an absolute disaster. Of course it was. You invite the fox into the hen house and the fox kills all the hens, right? Don't blame the fox. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, why would I have voted for a klutz? That's what you need to do. It's not Boris Johnson's fault. Boris Johnson has done nothing wrong apart from be Boris Johnson. That's all he's done. He's just be Boris Johnson, and now you're finding out what it takes to be Boris Johnson, right? And you know, all Boris Johnson, every answer yesterday come back to basically to the vaccine rollout. And again, yeah, all that is just the posh boys. It's the posh boys taking the credit, right, for what the working class have done. The working class are the people who've rolled out the vaccine. They're the ones who have done that. The NHS workers are the ones who have done that. They're the people, right, who should be getting the rewards for this. the NHS workers. Right. But Boris Johnson is the one who every minute he wants the credit for it. He wants the credit for the vaccine rollout. And you think, hold on a minute, mate, you don't get credit, right, for providing some circumstances. Right. You haven't done the actual work itself. Right. The actual work has been done, right, by the working class people of this country. That's who has done the work. Right. And this guy, oh well, this is like you come into my house and I'm saying to you, well, I built this house. I built this. I built this. And I said, well, you mean you paid the builder to do it? Yeah, but I did pay the builder to do it, but I should get some credit. What, for providing the money? No, you don't get credit for that. You don't get credit, right, for providing taxpayers' money to do something. You don't get credit for that. That's not your credit. The credit goes to the NHS workers. They're the ones who should get the rewards for it. Right? Not you. Not the posh boys. The posh boys are always they just take the piss. Oh, the vaccine rollout. It's not you that's done that. You have not done the vaccine rollout. Right? This is reminiscent of me owning a building, right? And I sell it. I rent the building out to a hospital, and then I start taking credit for the operations in there. I'm like, well, this week I've done 15 operations this week. I say, well, you own the building, right? Who's doing the operations? Well, the surgeons are, but I should get some credit at least, shouldn't I? This is how these guys are. The posh boys always, right, just taking the piss, right, out of the working classes. Alright? But you know what? I've already been on here 31 minutes, right? I haven't even spoken about Brexit. I was going to do a bit on Andrew Rosendale, more about on the inflation, all these things I was going to speak about, but I'll do that in another video. Right. Anyway, guys, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm DMC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.